Alright, today we're going to talk about a different way to find the zeros or the roots of a quadratic function. We're going to be using what's called the quadratic formula. You're going to need your toolkit. Okay, so this is what the toolkit entry looks like from your toolkit. It says y is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, a solution to, and if you look here, this is your standard form of an equation right here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's what we've been looking at. So I'm not going to go through the steps as to why it works, but you need to know that this is the equation you can use, or this is the formula you can use when something is not factorable. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Alright, well, it's good to know that you can use this formula anytime you want to use it. It doesn't have to be only used when something's not factorable. The problem is you have to remember the formula. So again, the formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. So let's talk about the pieces of this and talk about the quadratic function I wrote, 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. Each of those values in that are a different letter of the formula. So the first one, 3, is your a term. Okay? The second one, change my color here, 7 is your b. So any place you see a b, you're going to put 7 in. And then c is your last and final one, which is 2. So any place there's a c, you would put 2. So you're really just plugging numbers into the formula. So here's what it would look like. Negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2, all divided by 2 times 3. Alright, so it looks complicated. It's really not. We're going to start underneath and start simplifying. So on the outside I have negative 7 plus or minus the square root, and 4 times 3 times 2, so 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, and 7 squared is 49, all divided by 6. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm left with negative 7 plus or minus the square root. 49 minus 24 actually comes out very nicely. It's 25, all over 6. Okay, so this is what we have. And I hope you're looking at this and being like, well, what's this plus and minus all about? Alright, so we're left with negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 25 divided by 6. You might be thinking, what's this plus and minus all about? Well, if you remember, when we solve a quadratic and we factored it, we always had 2 roots, or 2 values when x was 0, and what we would get to make it equal to 0. So we still have 2, but we need to write them separate. Negative 7, plus the square root of 25 over 6, or negative 7 minus the square root of 25 over 6. So now we just want to solve each one of these. So the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, I'm back here on this first one right here. And 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. So I have negative 2 over 6, or negative 1/3. On the other side, I have negative 7 minus 5 over 6. So that gives me negative 12 over 6, which is just negative 2. So the answers are negative 2 and negative 1/3. So those might have been tricky to find when you were factoring. I don't know if this one was factorable. I just chose a quadratic function and factored it using the quadratic formula. So now let's look at another example. Alright, so let's look at this quadratic function. 8x squared plus 40x equals 238. So right away I hope you're thinking, well, this isn't equal to 0, so I need to make it equal to 0. So I have 8x squared plus 40x not equals. Okay, so I made it equal to 0 by subtracting the 238. Now let's think. 8 is going to be your A, 40 is going to be your B, and negative 238 is going to be your C. Okay, so let's write the formula. Alright, so here's the standard form compared to what we're looking at. So you can kind of see how I got A is 8, B is 40, and C is negative 238. Now you also need that quadratic formula, so that's the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, so we're going to plug into that. B is 40, so we have negative 40 plus or minus the square root of B squared, so 40 squared minus 4 times 8 times negative 238, all divided by 2 times 8. Okay, so I'm probably going to have to move to another slide because this is taking up a lot of room, but let's simplify a little bit. So be careful because this is a minus and this is a minus. So when you multiply this out, you're going to get a negative, and then you're going to be subtracting a negative, so it's really going to make a positive. So I have negative 40 plus or minus the square root. 40 squared is 1600. Okay, and 4 times 8 times 238 gives me 7,616. When I add those two pieces together, I get 9,216 all over 16. Alright, so let's find our two roots. This one actually comes out very nicely because the square root of 9,216 comes out evenly. It comes out as 96, and we have 16 on the bottom still. So we have two roots. We have one that's negative 40 plus 96 over 16. So that one comes out as 3.5. And then the other one is negative 40 minus 96 over 16. And that one comes out as negative 8.5. I hope this helps you understand the quadratic formula. With some practice, it'll become easier and you'll be able to memorize the formula pretty easily.